Deep within the shadows of untamed jungles lies a hidden world. Cryptids roam in the dark, and explorers find themselves face to face with danger. The woods are chilling enough, but what if you dared to set up camp there? Expect nothing less than sheer terror.
Oh God.
This might be one of the most chilling stories you'll hear. Two brothers lost their sister in the woods a year ago, only for her to reappear 4 months later. But nothing about her seemed the same. She was as pale as a ghost, moving with an unsettling gait as she approached them. Frozen with fear, the brothers couldn't bring themselves to welcome her back. What could have happened to her out there? Who or what had she encountered? With no answers in sight, the brothers turned and left. And while it may look harsh abandoning her, what if she wasn't their sister, but an evil creature disguising itself as her? Sudden reach. What was meant to be a quiet camping trip quickly turned into something out of a nightmare. As the campers enjoyed their evening, a pale, almost ghostly creature began to slither toward them. They knew one thing for certain: they had to get as far away from this thing as possible. And fast. The terror in one camper's trembling voice was chilling.
Go, please.
While another was so shaken that he struggled to run without support. Whatever this creature was, let's hope none of us ever come face to face with it anytime soon. Real life orc. It's never a good idea to spy on someone, but especially not when it's a grotesque creature that could end your life within minutes. Mangled, torn, and with a face dripping with contempt, this creature was clearly in no mood to be disturbed. And that's when it spotted the poor camper who'd lost his way. I'll spare you the details, but what happens next is every person's worst nightmare. The mysterious creature tackled the man, who survived by a miracle, no doubt. But what on earth was that? Some say it's no coincidence this creature resembles the orcs from Lord of the Rings. And if that's true, that tells us a lot about a book we think is fictional. Sign of Doom. Someone call M. Night Shyamalan, because the alien from Signs might actually be here. And it picked the creepiest jungle to make itself at home. The creature seemed to be feeding on something, moving in this odd jerk-like way with eyes that glowed like headlights. When it noticed it was being watched, it paused, stood up in a chillingly slow way, and stared at the camper before slowly backing into the shadows of the forest. Now we know that's what we consider a happy ending of some sort. But when you think about what it was feeding on, or what it was even doing there, you know this isn't the end. Unexpected encounter. Every Bigfoot hunter wants to run into one until they actually do. This hunter clearly didn't expect to run into the elusive creature from this up close, and you can actually sense his hesitation. It's as if he too, like all of us, grew up thinking Bigfoot wouldn't be that intimidating up close, and finally realized what the creature really is. As for the Bigfoot, it seems like it isn't the first time this one's run into humans. Although sensing each other's emotions, both parties seemed reluctant to move. Even the hunter abandoned his plan. Hands shaking with fright and the camera trembling with the same emotions, one hiker encountered a creature so frightening. You wouldn't believe it. We're not talking about a mountain lion or some sort of crazy chimpanzee. Nee, we mean the elusive Bigfoot, the colossal creature that remains shrouded in mystery. Startled by the hiker's presence, the Bigfoot stared for a solid second before deciding to back away. It was almost as if the Bigfoot contemplated taking the hiker's life for a split second, but something changed its mind. Alarm rings. You'd think danger only lives in dense jungles, but even the roads aren't safe anymore. 2 explorers were heading back home when this anomaly stopped them right in their tracks. Its body bending at a weirdly inhumane angle, and its movements clearly hinting at ill intentions. The creepy creature looks eerily like Samara from The Ring. Terrified out of their wits, the duo tried to keep themselves calm, hoping to ward off whatever this evil creature was. And the video cuts right there, leaving us all on the edge of our seat. But don't worry. Since we're seeing this video, it means they got out safe. Or maybe we've only got 7 days to live. Rake's scream. You might want to be alert. This is not for the faint of heart. An old barn lay abandoned in the middle of a remote forest, and although that's practically a big warning, of course, some foolish campers decided to explore it anyway. And what happens next is a thing of nightmares. As soon as the door opened, a pale, ghastly creature stared back at them. Before they even had the time to react, it let out a hair-raising scream. One that'd keep you up at night. Good thing the amateur explorers dashed away. Because if this rake had anything on its mind, it was clearly hunting them down. Peru's face peeler. Roughly a year ago, Peruvian tabloids reported multiple incidents involving a mysterious creature which would allegedly run out from behind the trees and tackle humans. Although many people were mysteriously vanishing from the village, most locals chalked it off to them getting lost in the woods. But after they saw this, they knew. They were in trouble, and the myth of the Peru face peeler was no longer just their imagination. Scarily, nobody knows who recorded this. The video was recovered off of a camera that was found abandoned, so the end of the Peruvian face peeler and the missing people remains unknown. Shattered reality. It looks like we've got to accept the truth. Aliens have been living among us for several decades and have become so accustomed to their surroundings, they're the ones throwing stones. Literally. And this isn't the first encounter of its kind to be captured. Here's another glimpse. An alien-like creature suddenly appearing from behind and tackling the cameraman. Now, I'm not saying this can't be doctored. It very well might be. But when you think about all the things that are going around in the world, you better believe this. Burlesque horror. You'd think Sasquatches couldn't get any scarier. But what if they're not the way we've imagined them to be? Just see this. As a lost hiker traversed the thick trees, he encountered a tall, burly creature with a stature that could easily put most NBA players out of the court. But all jokes aside, you can tell this is no ordinary creature. Many think this is actually what a Sasquatch looks like, nightmarish, jagged, and downright terrifying. And what we've been seeing as Sasquatches until now is quite far from the reality. Welp, let's hope this is miles and miles away. Pale Nightmare. After all that we've seen, if you still think the Rake is a creature born out of imagination, take a look at this. The video dates back more than a decade, back when editing wasn't too popular, so you know whatever this creature is wasn't just fashioned from an app. Sporting thin, long appendages, a ghostly silhouette, and sickly skin, it seemed to be feasting on something on the ground. The explorers who ran into the creature were clearly hoping it wouldn't notice them, but reality had other plans. As soon as it sensed their presence, it leapt forward with an immense force. We're leaving the rest up to your imagination, because frankly, the truth is too gruesome. SCP-096. The SCP-096 is a humanoid creature that first appeared in a series of fictional books. The creature was described as a tall, pale figure that usually appeared undisturbed until encounter, and then it would pounce at whoever came across its path. Now, since we're talking books, I must add that the SCP-096 has never been considered as a real being. In fact, we've known it's just fictional. But after seeing this, you can't help but notice the uncanny resemblance. If we connect the dots, it's possible the SCP-096 is actually a type of Rake that inspired the book character, and really does live on Earth. Russian monster. Roughly 2 years ago, one video took the internet by the storm. In it, a mysterious creature, covered in thick fur and sporting a gruff appearance, seemed to be following the cameraman. Although we can't hear much, it's clear the video was filmed somewhere in the thickets of the wilderness. With so much darkness, even a flashlight wouldn't have helped. But this clip didn't just appear out of nowhere. It only surfaced after a tourist claimed they'd been followed by a Bigfoot-like creature in Russia. It seems they finally uploaded the proof. And if the truth's anything like what we're seeing, it's pretty gnarly. Dover to fear.
Hey, are you following us?
Imagine being lost in the woods and realizing you're being followed by a white demon. You might not think this is terrifying strictly from this angle, but when you realize that you don't really have a way out, that's when this encounter becomes a threat. Some say this creature is actually the Dover demon, a cryptozoologist creature first spotted in the small town of Dover, Massachusetts. The Dover demon is believed to have the ability to see the future, and only appears when your life is in mortal peril. So who knows, maybe this demonic creature didn't have bad intentions, but that doesn't make it any less terrifying. Fears uprising. Forests are a magnet for trouble. Deep inside those dense trees lurk terrifying creatures that pounce on you when you least expect. And when that happens, you know they've been accompanying you for a long time, watching your every move, following your every step. After this clip made it online, many netizens speculated that this was actually a Bigfoot. And before we go on to say it could be a man donning a suit, just look at that stature. You've got to believe this isn't some ordinary man, possibly a humanoid creature. And if the myth of Bigfoot is really real, we can only hope this hiker made it out safe. Dino storm. For the past few years, countless research centers around the world have been working on finding a way to clone dinosaurs. That's right, the same creatures that would be a nightmare to deal with if they existed. Of course, most of their efforts have been in vain, but recently, someone uploaded this video anonymously on the dark web, and it's got people talking, because it looks like one mad scientist finally pulled it off, but either purposely hid the truth or was forced to by unknown authorities. If that's the case, I seriously hope it's to prevent more cloning, because we sure as heck can't handle a real Jurassic Park. Spelunker's nightmare. Spelunking isn't really my thing. Forget the claustrophobia, the darkness, or the lack of oxygen. What if you encounter strange beings? That's the biggest thing keeping me away from crawling into hellish crevices. But alas, Not everyone thinks like that. After a spelunker mysteriously vanished, a rescue team traced his footsteps and recovered his camera. On it, this was the only video recorded. Although it seems like the spelunker might have escaped, that doesn't seem to be the case. Whatever this hellscapes creature was, it took the spelunker with it. The Almas.
I know. Crap, not this dumb guy again.
In Turkish folklore, Almas is a cryptid creature that resembles Bigfoot, but not so quite. It is rumored to live near the Pamir Mountains, but has occasionally been spotted in fields, presumably looking for something to feast on. This was captured by a Turkish farmer after he noticed something grazing along his field. A tall stature, an inhumane way of moving, and a presence that drips evil. This is believed to be the only evidence of the Almas. The farmer may have cut off too early, but at least he escaped safely. Dybbuk's return. Tall, terrifying, and appearing for only a few seconds, this creature's mere presence is enough to make you shudder. While rumors circulate about its identity, some can't help but notice its resemblance with the Dybbuk, a hostile spirit that's native to Israel. The Dybbuk is next explained through its appearance. A lanky body sporting a grotesque head, said to appear suddenly and only disappear after accomplishing its goal. Who knows what happened here, but the cameraman clearly had some unfinished business. Glimpse of evil.
Oh my God.
What is that? That's it.
What do you get when you combine a bunch of daring explorers with dark secrets of the woods? Nothing short of horror. These friends picked up the camera when they kept feeling like they were being watched, joking and laughing as if they weren't really in danger. They didn't realize something was amiss. The stillness in the air, the brooding presence. And just at the edge of the dark lake, they noticed two bright, glowing eyes. The height alone negates any animal, but to think it could be an evil entity waiting to prey on them? That's truly nightmarish. The Dogman. For the past decade, Brazilian farmers were terrorized by a mysterious creature. It would appear in witching hours, feasting on their livestock, and somehow always escaping their eyes. They lived in fear for years, until one day, a cleverly placed trap finally caught it. A mangled body with a dog-like head, but a figure that clearly betrayed the species. This grotesque creature was said to be the Dogman, a creature first seen in the late 1800s and occasionally since then. It is believed this Dogman was apprehended by the authorities and never spoken of again, leaving villagers in confusion and unease. Zeta Reticulans.
Holy crap.
This is one of the oldest proofs of alien life. Filmed in Australia, the mystery creature has long been speculated to be a gray alien, or the Zeta Reticulans. It is rumored to have arrived after a UFO crash landed somewhere over Queensland back in the late 1900s. If that's the truth, it tells us a lot about extraterrestrials. To have survived so long is enough to know you're dealing with something alien. The video was recorded by a resident who claimed the alien visited him multiple times, but always watching from afar, and always disappearing when he called the cops.
What do you want?
Bruised ends. An explorer was casually walking through the woods when he stumbled upon something horrifying. Peering from behind a tree was a creature unlike anything he'd ever seen. Purple eyes, sickly purple skin, tangled hair, and long black claws. It was clear this beast didn't have friendly intentions. Without a moment's hesitation, the explorer bolted, putting as much distance as he could between himself and that nightmare. Safe to say, this is one forest he won't be venturing into again anytime soon. Rake's End. What you're about to witness isn't just another random sighting. It's a creature woven into North American folklore for the past 800 years. Known as the Rake, this eerie humanoid figure is said to bring terror to anyone who glimpses it. In this clip, an unsettling figure is seen hanging from a tree. At first, some speculated it was just a prank, maybe someone in a costume. But a creature with such glowing, malicious eyes and skin untouched by sunlight clearly doesn't seem human. And if we know anything about the Rake, this guy's lucky he got to escape. Bigfoot spotted. We've grown up hearing the lore of Bigfoot so much that we think encountering one wouldn't be a big deal. But when you're finally up against a creature like that, all logic flies out the window and fear takes over. It's a good thing the hiker who recorded this was already ducking behind the trees. Otherwise, he'd be in a lot of trouble. It seems the Bigfoot was pretty occupied with reaching its destination, which might explain why it didn't sense the hiker. But hey, at least we've got proof that Bigfoot isn't just a raging myth. Mexican vindication. El Chupacabra, the Mexican folklore creature that still terrified people today. Even though we're majorly accepted El Chupacabra as a scary story to keep children in check, we're seeing more and more evidence of the chupacabra being real. After all, wouldn't all those stories have emerged from somewhere? What if they were inspired by the truth? And before you go on to say this particular creature is just a cat or anything of the sort, that's already been debunked by animal experts. Well, at least the cameraman had the good sense to escape when he sensed danger. That's rarer than you think. The Crawler. Late one night, a group of friends found themselves driving through an empty stretch of Navajo reservation land. As they rounded a bend on the dark, isolated road, they noticed a lone figure walking up ahead. Assuming it was a hitchhiker, they slowed down, intending to offer help. But as they got closer, a terrible sense of unease hit them. From afar, the figure looked human. But up close, its face seemed twisted, almost animal-like. The friends froze, watching in horror as the figure gradually moved off the road on all fours, eyes shining eerily in the dark. Shaken, they sped away, only to later hear from locals that they'd crossed paths with a skinwalker. That usually leaves no survivors. Moonlight monster. It wasn't a dog or a mutated animal or anything we've seen before. But whatever this creature was, it radiated an unmistakable sense of danger. Pale as moonlight, it crouched low near a jungle campsite, spotted by campers only 6 months ago. Some believe it could be the Rake, a creature that we've usually only seen in its humanoid form, but is perfectly capable of transforming into an animal whenever it wants. Only, it seems like it somehow got stuck mid-transition and was found in this state. Which is a good thing, because if it had the chance to transform completely, the cameraman wouldn't have lived. Virginia's alien. Not all aliens creep on you. Sometimes you can get the chance to creep on aliens and catch them off guard, too. This happened back in 1996, following an alleged UFO crash in Virginia, Brazil. Residents complained of an alien being stalking them, but this was quickly chalked off as a misunderstanding by authorities. But this video was recently declassified and made public, and allegedly shows the same alien being. It seems some explorers stumbled upon it by accident, and they must have gone to the authorities. But considering we didn't hear a peep for nearly 3 decades, it must mean the authorities were planning something sinister. The Abominable Snowman. The Abominable Snowman has long been a prop for movies and cartoons. But maybe it was always real, and we just didn't know. A camper got lost in the Appalachian Mountains and ran into this ghastly figure. Its appearance every bit similar as the Bigfoot, save for the white thickets of fur. The creature seemed equally startled at running into a human, almost as if it didn't know how to react. The camper made it out alive, but claimed to have weird nightmares after that. That's not a good sign. Demons galore.
Parece mais gato com preguiça.
If it weren't for the demonic glare, you wouldn't have even noticed there was something evil lurking out in the dense woods. But that's what makes every forest in the world a nightmare to be in, especially this one, because this is a little too close to home. That's right, it was filmed somewhere in North American forests by an explorer who'd lost his way. The creature, blending in with the darkness, almost went unnoticed until the camera sensed its movements. It seems neither the explorer nor the creature wanted to confront the other, so at least we got a safe ending. But the identity of the creature remains a mystery, and that's unsettling.
Parece mais gato com preguiça.
Dog carnia. Deep inside the Costa Rican rainforest lurks a creature that's best described as terrifying. Its face resembles a bear, but its body, not so much. It appears at night, peering over the tall bushes with the intent to hunt down anything that crosses its path. For a long time, the creature has escaped with countless victims, leaving behind nothing but fear and a lack of name. But now, one amateur explorer finally tracked it down, revealing an ungodly creature we'd only expect from nightmares. They say the explorer was successful in hunting it down, but was apprehended by authorities before he could go public, which is only raising concerns, especially since we haven't heard much. Camper's fright. Here's a video that'll make you rethink everything. As these joyous campers set up for the upcoming night, one of them caught a glimpse of an ungodly creature. It appears for a mere few seconds, but those are enough to shake you to your core. It dips away quickly, leaving the campers in shock. Only later, when they reviewed the video, did they realize the extent of their encounter. This wasn't a monkey, or in fact, any recognizable primate. And if it really was the stuff of nightmares, who knows how long it had been keeping an eye on them, and what for. The Night Watch. I'll never get the appeal of exploring places that you know aren't safe, especially thick forests teeming with terrifying mysteries. And it looks like one explorer finally got a taste of their stupidity when he decided to explore a restricted part of the Amazon forest. As he trudged deeper, he came face to face with a dark figure. Or perhaps it was camouflaged a little too perfectly. But we're getting distracted here. What on earth is this hellish creature? Well, it could be something akin to the Dover demon, or maybe it's a goblin, finally revealing itself in all its glory. Dayton's monster. A parent's instinct kicks in once they realize their kid is in danger. But what do you do when danger has no discernible identity? As these kids played near the woods behind their backyard, they spotted a feral, beastly creature, staring back at them from behind the trees. Now I know you could say this is just some sort of primate, but the video owner claimed they didn't know of any species that lived in those woods. Besides, experts have already taken a look at this clip and have deduced this is no ordinary creature. Some say it could be a baby Sasquatch, but the idea of these creatures multiplying doesn't give me peace. Eyes out. A long, dark mane with rough tresses as if they hadn't seen daylight in years. Thin arms. And a sickly figure. These features make the horrible creature that we're seeing right now spotted first by a couple of campers who kept hearing the trees rustle right by their campsite. Positioned over the trees as if it was escaping every possible attempt to be seen, the horrendous creature seemed to be keeping an eye over the campers, as if it were purposely waiting for them to sleep, so it could snatch them right away. Luckily, it was spotted, but escaped before anyone had the chance to identify it. Ghoulish visitor. Ghouls are shape-shifting demons that take on the form of their most recent victims. It is said they used to live in Arabia, but were driven out by powerful mages, and now they live in deserted and dense areas all over the world. Now I know ghouls might sound like something from a children's horror storybook, but when you take a look at this monstrous anomaly, you can't help but wonder if ghouls and similar creatures are all around us. And since they take the shape of their latest victim, is it possible they feast on other monsters? Because this one looks eerily like a rake. Barnyard witch. Jinns are evil, demonic, ghost-like creatures that can take the form of anything and anyone they want. They live in abandoned places, spots where evil broods. Occasionally, though, jinns get caught in their humanoid form. Like this one, clearly caught off guard by a couple of urban explorers who had no idea they'd run into an actual female jinn when they entered an abandoned barn. I'm no expert, but maybe a jinn is rendered powerless when it's still mid-transition, which might explain why this one is behaving so unusually. That's all we get to see, but I'm sure things turned out fine. Branched out. Groot, a character from the Marvel universe. So, fiction, basically. But what if I told you Groot isn't just Stan Lee's depiction, but a creature that was inspired from reality? Don't believe me? Take a look for yourself. Even though it's set at a distance, you can clearly tell this creature is born from Mother Nature herself. Now, I'm not sure what it was up to, but since this was filmed by a rightfully very terrified hiker, I believe it was simply exploring its territory. It's a good thing it didn't notice it was being filmed, because invasion of privacy is one thing nobody likes. Doomed encounter. There's a lot that we don't know about, even when it comes to mythical creatures. Deep in our jungles lies a whole world that we've yet to explore, comprising terrifying and ghastly creatures that wouldn't survive in today's world. This is such an encounter, although it looks like man comes out on the top here. These humanoid beings were discovered by the duo as they were hunting for rabbits. Initially assuming they were lost children, they stepped closer, only to realize that although they might look human, they definitely weren't. The explorers didn't upload the rest of the video because they claim they wanted to keep the area off tourists. But I wonder what else they found. Scaled anomaly. There's a theory out there claiming shape-shifting reptilian aliens walk among us, blending in as our friends and family. For years, people brushed it off as pure fiction, but one video is challenging all that we know. Filmed somewhere in the Amazon, this clip shows a creature that's clearly alien, and yet so familiar as if it has been living there for decades. People believe these reptilian aliens are capable of shape-shifting themselves at will, so they're never recognized in public. But here, in the vast thickness, they don't expect to be encountered, which might explain how we've got a hold of this clip. The Naga. In Hindu mythology, there's a powerful being known as the Naga. Half human, half serpent, once believed to roam the earth, guarding hidden treasures and watching over humanity near water and deep jungles. But the Naga wasn't to be crossed. Those who angered it faced its swift, lethal vengeance. Now, a video showing what seems like a half-human, half-snake figure has sparked renewed belief that the Naga might be more than just myth. Though the sighting happened in the Philippines, many believe the Naga's spirit has traveled across lands. It hasn't been seen since, leaving people wondering if it might return. Cloaked terror. The next time you go looking out for trouble, maybe be careful what you wish for. Because when trouble itself knocks on your door, there's nothing to do but regret and run. An Indian YouTuber, known to explore abandoned and desolate fields in hopes of finding a monster, finally saw his wish came true. But it didn't really go to plan. The ghostly entity, perhaps a djinn, perhaps something else, stared with such intensity he knew he was done for. Well, that was bound to happen. And now, let us move on to our subscriber pick of the day. This image was sent to us by one of our subscribers. Similarly, if you ever wish to know more about an image you come across, just send it to us. Who knows, we might even feature it in one of our videos. This is the first ever recorded encounter with a rake, and although many have tried to doubt its credibility over the years, this one has always come out on the top. As this teen messed around with his camera, he came across the bend and discovered a distorted figure lying on the ground. Knowing it was no ordinary animal carcass, he stepped closer, and carefully. But he was done for. In a matter of seconds, the creature leapt up, causing the teen to run away with fright. The video has never been debunked and remains one of the most legitimate proof of the rake's existence.